Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Training Day, Season 1, Episode 1. It's called Apocalypse Now. We will start spoiler free. We may go into some spoilers later, but I'll give you a warning. Because it's Episode 1, we like to start spoiler free for these, give you a sense if it's worth watching. It's not, but.
Put it bluntly, straight up at the front.
It's not terrible. It's not. It kind of falls into that kind of Lethal Weapon category where.
I just don't care about anything.
Yeah, I don't care about anything. And they try. There's a couple of casting choices in this that, Bill Paxton. I love Bill Paxton.
What's not to love?
And he's the best part about this.
It's not that hard, really, is it?
He's easily the most interesting character. He gives the most interesting performance. Julie Benz also shows up, who I like from my Angel days.
She doesn't have that much to do, though.
She doesn't, but I assume she's going to. I mean, she's main build, so I assume she's going to be a recurring thing as things on. She plays a pimp, or sorry, a Hollywood madame, as she puts it. And yeah, so it's based on the movie Training Day, where you've got the sort of the older, more corrupt cop taking under his wing a new partner who's originally meant to go in and. Well, actually, I think in the movie it does ultimately bring him down, but because it's a TV show, it's going to be more of a long-winded kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so, older cop Bill Paxton, more corrupt, and then you've got the younger guy, Detective Kelly Craig, his name is. He is sort of the by the book, very sort of typical. I say typical, but
Standard cop, standard TV cop.
standard TV cop who believes in the rules and the honour of the badge and all that kind of thing. And yeah, they're thrown together, and he has to put up with Bill Paxton's crazy old ways, where he'll do all these illegal things, and that's kind of a show. And there's a lot of really generic, stereotypical villains, gang leaders, and you get the Hispanic gang, you've got the Russian gang, all these very generic characters who don't really care about any of them, of course.
That is like the biggest problem with all of this. Like it's never like actively bad, but it never really makes me care about anything or anyone.
It's very generic. It's basically the thing. I thought the opening 5 minutes was really rushed. It sort of like rushed through all this introduction of who the main character was and
Info dump.
info dump, yeah. And he's got this really cliched, oh, my dad was a cop, someone killed him, I want to get to the bottom of it and catch the killer. And of course, Bill Paxton's like, well, you're never going to get him if you play by the rules, you have to go outside the rules.
It doesn't feel fresh or original in the slightest.
But seeing it's a remake, that's
No,
the
but
reason.
I haven't even seen the movie.
Yeah, that's true.
I just mean in general that as it sounds like half the tropey cop shows on TV in the past 5 years.
It kind of does. It's not. I mean, it's not as bad. We reviewed another CBS show called MacGyver, which is another reboot before Christmas back in
It's nowhere near that bad.
September, October. It's nowhere near as bad as that because that was like that was insultingly, cliched. This is cliched, but it's more in a mundane way where you do have a couple of good actors. You have some bad actors though. The main guy, Kyle, he's not terrible, but he's not particularly good either. He didn't really feel he can carry his own show.
I feel like he'd be better if he wasn't next to Bill Paxton.
Oh, that's probably true.
It shows him off a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, because Bill, of course, is great, and the worst offender I thought though was Kyle's wife, who we see in a couple of scenes.
She was not good.
She was not good, and their scenes together they were actually kind of the worst scenes because it was those two together, and they were talking about how his emotions were and all that, especially towards the end of the episode. And I was like, this isn't really working. I'm not buying this at all.
No.
And like I say, we got a lot of really generic villains, and they all feel very one note. The plot, like, I almost feel like as much as there's info dumps, they don't overly actually make it clear kind of what the actual plot is. Like, there's like one mob boss who wants to kill another mob boss, and Bill Paxton lures him.
The info dumps are about kind of who is this person, not any sort of plots.
Yeah, but we're just expected to go along with everything, and I guess that's fine. As far as the action goes, yeah, there's some shootouts. There's some grenade launchers and a rocket launcher at one point. It's very over the top. It baffles me that Paxton's character's allowed to get away with all this, because it doesn't seem like it's very secretive, if I'm honest.
It doesn't, does it? There's explosions all over the place.
Yeah, like he literally explodes someone's house, and when the rest of the cavalry show up, the police and the ambulance, and he's giving his statement to another officer, he says, "Yeah, I seen the fire as I was walking past, and I went in to see if I could be of assistance." And the other officer goes, "With the riot gun that he's got over his shoulders?" Like, well, yeah, you never know. And it
doesn't make sense, does it?
And I love Bill Paxton delivering that line. Don't get me wrong. He's the right kind of attitude for that. It just, everything around it feels kind of weird and off.
He feels out of place, but it's not his fault.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I'm sure like this could be something they explore. Is like maybe they do let him get away with it for X, Y, and Z, and it is like a big sort of force-wide conspiracy that they're all in on, and that's sure fine. But in this first episode, it didn't really do a whole lot for me.
No.
The biggest problem is though is I didn't care, like you say.
That really is the crux of it. Is there's all this stuff going on, like Kyle and his dad, and there's a mystery, and it's like, ugh, I just don't care.
Yeah, the whole mystery. What was his dad really like? Because I don't think it's even that much of a spoiler to say that Bill Paxton reveals at some point that he knew his father.
Because of course he did.
Because of course he did. It's the most obvious thing ever.
Yeah.
And to set up this whole, I guess their twist on the movie and the way it's going to be different is that Kyle believes that he might actually be able to redeem Bill Paxton's character. That's kind of what it sets up going forward, is that Bill Paxton's trying to teach the kid that, oh no, you have to be corrupt if you want to get anything done, you have to work outside the law, blah 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 blah. But Kyle's going to try and teach him, no, you can come back from this and you can be on the right side and be moral. And that's maybe, and honestly, that core idea on its own actually sounds alright. Like, if you give me a better written show,
I mean, it still wouldn't maybe not feel that fresh right now.
Well, it's all in the filmmaking. It looks so generic. It feels so generic. If it was shot in a really interesting way with someone with a sense of style, not that it doesn't have a style, it does. It's just that very generic TV, everything looks hot style.
Do you know how I really want to sum it up? The name of this episode is Apocalypse Now, and the episode opens kind of on that shot of the sun that's supposed to be evocative of that, but it just feels cheap in comparison.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of sums up the whole thing, where it just feels cheap and TV standard.
Aye, pretty much. And you have all the scenes you expect to have. At one point Kyle has like a gangster in his sights and he doesn't take the shot. And Bill Paxton's like, why didn't you take the shot? What's going on? And it's the scenes you expect to play out, and they play out exactly the same way you think they're going to.
Yeah, and there's a big gunfight going on, but nah, let's have some fisticuffs instead with the personal moment.
Yeah, but it doesn't present it as fun. It doesn't feel like it's self-aware of what it's doing enough to make it like tongue-in-cheek.
Which is, interestingly, is almost the same problem we had with MacGyver, where it just played it straight.
Yeah, that isn't as bad as that though, because at least
it's got a more serious premise to begin with.
It's got a more serious premise, and at the very least, it has a couple of cast members kind of elevating it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't recommend.
I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to watch any more of this.
Oh no,
it's just boring. Unfortunately, and that's. I can watch stuff I hate because I can get enjoyment out of that.
That's the problem, and it's more difficult to talk about something like this. But I don't hate this. I don't despise it. It just kind of exists, and that makes it hard to really have a good, proper, in-depth discussion about it. Because ultimately, you just keep coming back to, I don't care about anything that's going on. But then you say, why don't we care about anything that's going on? And it's because it's derivative, it's cliched, it's taking itself seriously when it's being cliched. So it's hard to really get anything on either side of the fence. And
I thought a lot of the dialogue is either really on the nose or just. Like, it's just not that good.
Super on the nose. I mean, it tries to like tackle race issues. There's a couple of scenes where the dialogue goes into that sort of territory, and you have the younger cop who's black, and you have Bill Paxton who's the old white cop, and it flips from the movie, because in the movie it's the older black guy who's the corrupt cop, and that they've flipped that around. And there's a couple of lines where it tries to go into that, and it tries to make a little bit of a political line in there, whatever. And it's fine what they're trying to do, like, I get it, but the rest of the show is so generic and standard that it just kind of feels like, oh, look at us trying to be edgy.
If it did explore that more, then that'd probably be more interesting than what it's given us. But it's just not.
It feels like a cop show on CBS.
It really does, yeah. That is, which is kind of really insulting in itself.
It is. That said, though, it doesn't seem like it's going to be a procedural in the same way that some of their cop shows are. It feels like it's a bit more...
I don't know. I can see it still, like... I can see it still being fairly procedural.
They've got their ongoing mystery, so a lot of their stuff doesn't even have that.
That's true. To its credit, that is true.
They have that, so I think it deserves at least a point for having something, even if it is very, again, generic. I've used the word generic and stereotypical and cliched like so many times in this video, but I can't help it because that's what it is.
It is. It really is. There comes a point where there's only so many words you can use to describe something, and those are it.
I'm glad Bill Paxton's getting a paycheck.
That's true. Maybe it's one of those cases where they're clearly most of the budget's gone on him. Maybe. And he's gone, yeah, well, I'll do this, and then I can do something for myself over the summer.
Yeah. There you go. That's training day. We're even going to spoilers. I don't think we need to. I have nothing I want to talk about in spoilers.
Me either.
Which is, that is a criticism.
When is the last time we didn't go into spoilers at all?
We went into spoilers for a comedy just earlier today. A sitcom. We wanted to talk about spoilers. If we don't want to talk about plot elements that would be considered spoilers, then there's something wrong with your show. Because we don't care enough.
We don't care enough to talk about anything about this show, really. Let's be honest.
I'm surprised I finished it, if I'm honest. Bland, generic, don't bother. That's Trading Day.
Just pointless that it exists.
It is pointless. I don't understand why it exists. Except to give Bill Paxton a paycheck, which I'm okay with. He deserves all the money he gets. So thanks very much for watching. Let us know what you thought of Trading Day if you watched it in the comments below. Like and subscribe and all that stuff. It helps us out a lot if you do. Get us on Twitter at mild_fuzz. But otherwise, guys, we'll see you for other shows next time. Not this one, because I'm not watching this again. One day, we'll watch something from CBS and go, yeah, we're doing episode 2 of that. But not today.
Today is not that day.